Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we're bringing you day 205 of Ukraine War Diaries, done in a conversation format between Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the Office of the President of Ukraine, and Mark Feygin, Russian opposition journalist. Enjoy. Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feygin Live. It is Friday, September 16th. It is 10 p.m. in Kiev, and we're doing another stream, day 205 with Olexiy Arestovich. Glad to see you, Olexiy. Good evening. We have over 80,000 watching us live. Over 10,000 click the like button. Please share the link to that stream in your social media and your other resources. Let your friends know. Subscribe to Feygin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station if you are listening, watching that in English. We have probably finally the best quality we could achieve in these studios after all the tweaking. So let your friends know. After yesterday's break, let's take a look at the front. We'll show the map as usual. Do we start from Kharkov region? Yes, let's start from Kharkov. Nothing major happened there. And I'd like to repeat the truth, which is not even too important, but it's obvious truth, that the main front, the main interesting area now is between from Bravaya to Liman, from Svatovo to Liman. So these people are fighting on the left side of that Russian-occupied red territory that will be shown in a second on the map. They're essentially just a temporary block for our troops, so we cannot advance deeper. You see the red area near Kharkov, and then there is another red line, the border of Lugansk region. So essentially, around the border will be the next line of resistance. Because if that line of resistance that basically goes around over the red line would mean the next fold, next toppling of the Russian resistance up north in Lugansk. If we manage to break that, and we reach Rubezhnaya, down south where the red lines connect, that little area, right above Severodonetsk and Lysychansk with the green tents, if we reach that area, then Severodonetsk and Lysychansk become very vulnerable. We do still have troops in the front, on the left, from Lysychansk, and we will have our troops from the north, and that will be a serious threat for them, for the occupants, and that's why, if you've seen the video of Pasechnik, the occupational administration lead of that area, he had some panic notes in his speech recently, and he said there is no need to panic, there is no need to panic. Well, you know what it means. So, in the meantime, we've been continuing to press to the east along the established front, and it is a little difficult near Liman. It is a very forested area. Railroads, roads, a lot of ravines, a lot of forests. There are only 2 to 3 battalion tactical groups defending there, but they've somewhat recovered from the initial shock and are holding their defense rather well there. Generally rather professional and somewhat motivated, so we cannot just run over them like we did earlier. What will happen? There are 3 possible implications. One, if we push them through and we take Liman, we take Zarechny by that center of the map where you see the water, the lake area, and then we push further to Kremina and the intersection of 3 red lines on the right at around 3:30 on this map. And then if we have that success, the whole defense of Russians topple on the northern front, and we jump on the northern face of that front. We can fold it from the north, and Lysychansk, Severodonetsk are also being attacked from the main front as well, and their position will be radically different from what it is now. And if we take Lugansk Republic further down, then we can basically surround Donetsk Republic, cut their supplies from Russia, and boom, Donbass is liberated. They're really afraid of that. They're throwing reserves at it, and that'll mean an end to all their shenanigans in Ukraine. Another option, if we go and advance in the center near Svatovo, a little further up, if they manage to hold the front, not let us penetrate it, and it converts into a standoff front until one of the sides collects other resources to push back, and then we'll see what happens, who does it first. And something in the middle, if we took Liman, took some more settlements, but we exhausted and we cannot continue the operation. That is a little better for Russian side, but this option eventually pushes everything back to accumulation of reserves. I think we'll win in reserves, but this is an if situation, so they may also try to throw more resources here and accumulate them in Russia and reinforce. Another option would be if we manage to advance down below, under Lysychansk and Severodonetsk, then we can cut them from down under, on the south. If we take Rubezhne, and then if we succeed in taking Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, and then we advance beyond the defense line in that area, and then we have an option to hit them from the bottom, from the south, along the defense line that they created, and then that also folds their defense line up north. And that is a bother for them. They're really fighting, especially Donetsk Republic people and LNR so-called Republic people, because they actually realize what will happen if we manage to succeed on that front. So unlike the Russian occupants, these guys are somewhat understanding what they're fighting for. Their situation is not enviable. If our troops were in that position right now, our media would be screaming and blaming General Command that there are traitors there that led us to that situation. Remember how they reacted when we were losing Severodonetsk and Lysychansk? Some part of our population were really loud, despite us discussing here that we indeed need to withdraw the military from there, from Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, to save army. Yep, and there were political parties here in Ukraine who tried to capitalize on that. So we'll see what happens on the Russian side. But this is the combination of things, and either or, if we push in the south, or if we penetrate in the north, or in the center, that really creates a lot of threat options for them. What about Bakhmut? Are they still continuing their offensive there? Yeah, they are. They're still trying to push their way through. They capture very slow, maybe a dozen meters, a dozen yards per day, and they're just grinding their existing reserves there. And this is fine. Our task is the same as before on the same area. Just wear them out, make sure they have no reserves, no infantry, and then use the situation and break that stick and push through. They'll wait. The time will come. They'll get it. There are no other options. Today Putin mentioned in some meeting with India that our tasks have not changed. We're still proceeding with the operation. Everything is nominal. All right, let's go further. So Zaporozhye, there is some tactical motions there, and an interesting part about that would be that we found some Iranian UAVs there. Oh, Iranians. Did we? Can you tell how many? Quite a few, Mark. Yeah, we already saw a couple dozen cases of their use. They're trying to use them on stationary targets in the daytime. So artillery positions, river crossings, that's their local homegrown HIMARS kind of thing. So Iranians actually gave them these UAVs. Of course. You know, if how they teach young analysts, if it quacks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, yeah, it's understandable. No, it also can be that we're being shown a duck, but it also can be that it's a real duck. So did you at least hit any of them down? Yeah, we got a couple, and experts looked at that, and there are not even the slightest concern that it is somebody else's UAV. It is Iranian vehicle. Military troops in their communications call them Iranian UAVs. So we're waiting the reaction of Israeli side. Oh, it may be rather painful. Well, I doubt they'll be that stringent, but there may be some reaction. You know, I would put ourselves here. If Iranians gave UAVs, they probably asked something from Russia in return. You like asking me questions. What could they ask from Russia? Well, think about it. What if could it be radioactive material? And here Israel would start pouncing. Exactly. There is a logic here. Oh yeah, there is an iron logic in this. Here we got an answer. Okay, well, let's continue with the Zaporozhye line. They have issues. Today, that Strimousov got hit with one of the missiles. The head of occupation, and he was in a couple of videos. It's hard to be a traitor, yes. According to some data, 4 people are dead in his office. He was really surprised by the accuracy of that hit, and it really targeted his office. Unfortunately, he was at some meeting during that time in the building, but even the participants of that meeting, some of them perished. So it's interesting also, the attraction of government symbols is so deadly for these occupants. Why is it so easy? I'll tell you a secret. Why is it so easy to destroy their leadership? Every time occupants invade something, it's easy to get it. If they got into a village, you send the UAV, you look for the best building, for the best place in that area, and you just hit it, smack on. Not a single time you'll be wrong. They always pick the biggest house, the most comfortable area. If it has a sauna, it's a double benefit, and they always settle there. These idiots don't even understand that when they invade, they need to pick another place, any other place, with meeting rooms, with big gathering halls, philharmonic or theater or something. But they instead occupy administration, and they settle in the building of administration. So it's super easy to get them. In Kherson, there was another successful strike. We did not believe it initially, but they're reporting it's 180 200s killed occupants. Yeah, their streams are telling that it's 180 dead, about 300 wounded, and I suspect it may be somewhat true because we either hit forward operating position or the backup operating center. It is difficult to believe that number, but if ammo started detonating, many things could have happened. Oh, you also missed General Attorney of Lugansk region was assassinated by partisans. and some other collaborants on the territories. The head of another occupant administration, occupational administration. So the last one, I'm not sure if he's alive, but probably in the hospital. In any case, the lethality of occupying Russian occupants' positions in the administration is rather high. So if you're thinking about that, consider this factor. Another, they're hitting the dam on Ingulets for the second time again. Why are they doing it? What do they want? Their task is to destroy the pontoons we have and any other river crossing we have on that river. So they're trying to create that flood wave. Water needs at least a day or two to get to the area where we cross it, but they're trying to break the dam. And of course, there is a crisis of drinking water in the nearby town, and generally that falls under causing unnecessary suffering for the civil populations in the area during the war fighting. So it's another war crime foliant for the Hague Tribunal. We continue to advance slowly. We achieve our results by grinding and destroying the enemy. They have about 30 battalion tactical groups for such a small theater of action. This is a lot of troops, and that means they can create the front line, the second line, third line of defense, and it's not so quick to bite through. But looking at these protrusions here and there and the changes in the front line, we are still successfully pushing through. It might take a bit longer than 2-3 weeks that I like to mention, but we for sure will finish eating up that right bank. They're taking crazy measures. They're throwing some pipes over the river. Trying to put some pontoons. They even supply these troops with helicopters. And it reminds of trying to bail the water with something totally unusable for that. You can still bail a little bit out, but overall the perspective is pretty grim for them. All right, so let's discuss sparkly statements of a known person on Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Samarkand, SCO. Okay, we will not put a video, let's just address the points. Let's not waste time on him. First of all, he said that the West can keep waiting for the breakup of Russia. Second, special military operation is not some sort of warning. This is a special military operation. And we see that Ukraine is trying to create different diversions and terrorist acts during that operation. But we are not reacting much to that, and we have not even started yet. So me interpreting his words, meaning that Arestovych can continue disappearing and doing weird things on the front, and they will not be reacting for the time being. He also said that Russian troops did respond to Ukraine activities, and I think he was responding to the energy crisis they tried to create near Kharkov when they destroyed the power plant, and he thinks that destroying power plant is all right, but Ukraine's response to that is terrorist activity on behalf of Ukraine. So he reminds of a student, a poor student from school, the poorly dressed, and his jokes are just about the same cadence. Then about the guarantees of security and safety, he commented on Yermak's initiative and saying that I don't really care what they have concocted there, doesn't matter. He also stated that the tasks of special military operation have not changed and are being achieved. And he commented that Zelensky said he's not ready for negotiations. He just waved hands and said, well, he's not ready yet. All done with traditional Putin's flair, and he is saying that this is a special military operation in Ukraine, and Russia is not fighting with our own army as a whole. It's a special part of an army, so we're only fighting with the contract part of our military, that our real military is not even fighting there. And about Europe, he said that those are ex-colonial countries who are used to live at somebody else's expense, and he called it schizophrenic to implement sanctions against Kadyrov's children. And another thing, have you been to Bali? No, I was there. I've been there before, and personally I enjoyed it. It's a good diving, good recreation area. So he basically commented that he is not has not decided yet if he will join the G20 summit on Bali. And he said that it's a good place to work. Perhaps he might visit it just for work purposes. So he did not state if he's going to join Summit G20. Oh yeah, by the way, on Bali things may happen. That's far away from Russia. We'll see if he even decides to come. Yep, there could be that interesting hashtag, wonderful Bali. Tell me, so what happened? What was that statement? I think it doesn't deserve too much commentary on the individual things, but there is a well-known picture. Oh yeah, we'll find it. We'll put it up online. There is a picture representing the leaders of different countries, where Putin is somewhere in the middle on the sofa between others, not in the leading positions. That basically is the beginning of the end of Russia. It is already being divided between its neighbors, and more influential ones are already grabbing the influence areas. Russian legal system is no more. Whenever we saw that video of Prigozhin trying to recruit inmates for serious crimes into military to get those forgiven, so Russian legal system is gone. We thought nothing can really happen on a situation like that, but Chinese, for example, elevated Belarus to a higher level of negotiators than Putin's Russia. Kazakhstan got guarantees of sovereignty and territorial sovereignty. So that country is already pausing their membership in Putin's defense organization. And China is slowly eroding the area. Also, Erdogan and his group are eroding the influence down south. Yeah, that's the picture where Putin is sitting on the sofa, his feet are barely touching ground. And Erdogan seems like he's telling a joke or something. So I think, yeah, they already started dividing the areas of influence. Let's comment on Armenia, that was surprised and did not arrive to the to that summit, to the Samarkand event. Oh, by the way, it's not just Armenia. Between Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan, there is another conflict. The members of Putin's defense organization. That means that this organization is not about securing the region or safety for the members. It's all about mining money. And again, going back to Armenia, they're in a difficult position now because they refuse to take any peaceful option that was on the table, offered to them quite a few times. Some of them were rather attractive. And Pashinyan still chooses to resist and fight militarily. He cannot completely say goodbye to the Karabakh clan. And during the times of Armenia playing with Putin, so there are clans in Armenia that would rather have money from Russia and survive on that instead of trying to get their country in a better position. So, do you know also what Xi Jinping mentioned recently? He said our cooperation with Russian Federation is remarkably marked by big sports successes. And he did not mention weapons or anything else. So that's funny. Yeah, but Americans still reacted somewhat nervously to Xi speech. I did not see any agreements in that speech, right? Yeah, American speech was somewhat nervous response to that, but another interesting part is that China's speech said something like the grand steps of China in its development, and somewhere at the very end he mentioned regional allies and neighbors. After that, Putin was waiting for president of Kyrgyzstan to meet. That guy was late, and Indian leader was late for the meeting too. Putin was in a very quiet manner answering the questions that were asked of him about peace treaty, and he was saying, well, we cannot sign the peace treaty, they don't want to talk to us. And then the main message from Prime Minister of India, who is one of the really known spiritual leaders in India, a rare case when that person occupies a prime minister position. And he just turned to him and said, you should finish with that war. And Putin just was trying to explain himself after that. So generally the cake of Russia is starting to be divided by neighbors. And you can see that the king is rather nude, almost nude. The last remnants of his clothes are being stripped off him. And he basically led a very influential country to the condition of complete devastation. It's symbolical that Gorbachev just passed away, that Queen Elizabeth passed away. It's basically sort of symbolic end of an epoch of Soviet Union and people who knew and worked with it. At the end of it, we have the corpse of Russian Federation that is decaying, and the first thing that decayed and got destroyed are myths about Russian army, that this is something unwinnable and they'll always prevail in any conflict. Whatever they built, whatever Putin's administration built, that is not the Russian army from the mythology. It's some weird contraption built of inmates, very corrupt and incapable of achieving goals, military tasks. And I'm just waiting for the world to understand and become a little bit ashamed of them treating Putin more seriously. However, I'm also waiting that some people in Europe who are living in a different political world, they may try to keep Putin alive in his regime. We hope, though, that Germany and Europe are becoming wiser. You can see that on German example, when they nationalized 3 oil refineries recently, the company that ran them. And the fun part is that those refineries were actually were serviced by the Russian oil. So that was the biggest nest of influence for Russian money in Germany. So their tentacles are being cut off one after another. Scholz also made some pretty harsh statement today, and I hope that these processes will reach beyond a certain threshold that would not allow them to even consider saving Putin's ass. I wonder how far they will go in their realizations on the West. Will they come to absolutely important realization that this country should not have nukes? The country that puts inmates serving time for murder into their military, at the same time owning nukes. By the way, Izum were also found hundreds of graves, some with numbers, some without no marks. We even found another 6-year-old girl killed. So there are a lot of victims that are still being discovered. I don't think all of them were killed, probably by Russians. Some very likely also died as results of military activities in the area. But definitely there is a notable part that was executed. And I don't know what the West is going to negotiate or say, what face they want to save, because this is like a black hole sucking in lives and destinies of people that Putin unleashed on the front. There shouldn't be any other way to negotiate with them. You cannot re-educate them. You basically need to wipe them out. That sad and horrible moment, and show everybody what happens to these dictators whenever they bud like that and create regimes like that. It needs to be an example set, and it needs to have the same attitude as with Israel to some of those Holocaust events, basically never again. So I do hope that if the Europe evolves in a proper direction, they will at least finish Putin's regime and perhaps even find an attempt to denuclearize Russian arsenal. Over 300,000 watching us, about 80,000 or 100,000 left. Click the like button. Please continue watching, continue sharing in your social media, any other places online. Those people who need to watch that stream, please make sure they do, and we get subscribers here so they can see next events. By the way, I got the note that in Kherson they're blocking that stream, so understandable. They're filtering that. I think they can still avoid that by using VPN, but yeah, it is already good if you are clicking the like button and putting the links on that stream here and there. That definitely makes sure that more people see that. And subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovych, and to the Privateer station if you are watching that stream in English. All right. So the story with Prigozhin and his performance in prison. Is it the guy who's the husband of Russian singer Valeria? No, that's another asshole. But that other one is the creative one. This one is also a producer of sorts, but of a different industry, right? So it's a different person. He commented. He made a comment to the press about that video. Somebody reached him, and he did not even repudiate. He basically said it's either your children going to the front to die or inmates. It was a very brief commentary, like a one-phraser. And there was not even an option to not fight, or that whole thing is wild. He is offering a very specific conundrum. Go fight and die, or if you don't want to fight and die, then inmates will go and do that for you. He's not even commenting law. How do you take people who are murdering other people from prison cells, give them arms, send them to another country? And they're also not talking about the whole truth, right? Because their kids are still fighting and serving, because inmates will not be able to cover the whole front. Even if they'll continue fighting with inmates, they'll be dead rather soon, because they're not a significant military force. They have no training. And after them, there'll be Russians' kids serving in the army. So that's not even a choice, really. Yeah, that question is not on his radar. So in your opinion, Putin is stating it's not our whole army fighting there. And the day before that, there is Prigozhin, private leader of the private Wagner enterprise, is talking to inmates, trying to get them to the front. And some people are believing that. Well, I understand that you're a smirk, you'd of course realize the details, but some people are still believing that their kids are not going to fight, and it's... If Putin said not whole army is fighting, that it may be true. Maybe he has another army somewhere. Okay, then I have a question. What the heck does Iterup machine gun detachment doing here? You mean here in Ukraine, right? Yeah, here in Ukraine on the front. We recently hit them pretty hard. I'll remind them that that detachment is normally based on the islands next to Japan in the east of Russia. So if not, that's about 7,000 kilometers. So if not of all of his army is fighting here, what on earth is Itorup machine gun detachment doing here? Yeah, this is a special little detachment they had on the islands. Are they still a thing? Machine gunners as a separate detachment? Well, that's what they brought. I'm just amazed. My grandfather was a machine gunner. I did not even think we still have machine gunning detachments these days, but okay, just strange. So he's bringing inmates to that Wagner company. You know, how are they located along the front? Where are they being thrown to? For the most part, Wagner is Donetsk and Lugansk fronts only. Yeah, they're sprinkled everywhere, but for the most part, they're the ones who are continuing the Bakhmut offensive. There is a little bit of them near Sporne and Liman, where we are pushing, and there is a very little bit of them in Kherson. But mostly when there is a command to try to take a village or a settlement, that's where they send them to. Or where it is really hard defense line and then somebody needs to stay there, they just put those people in there. So they're meat for the grinder. And he's restocking these directions. Yeah, they basically get an order. You do take certain areas of Donetsk region, because that also outlines their campaign, that you can actually fall back on that and say, well, see, we did want to capture Donetsk and then we don't fight. You know, the Russian Federation, for example, could get to certain borders and stop fighting, and Ukraine keep attacking them, and then they can appeal saying, see, we're not fighting, we're defending ethnic Russians here and Ukrainians are attacking us. Let's sit down and negotiate. So at least that brings some semblance of logic to their activity, even though a puny one, but whatever. So that's what they're using them for. Some Kadyrov detachments also posted stuff yesterday. So Kadyrov's people mentioned that there are 2 Caucasus detachments are in an area of fighting now. Yeah, they are. The funny part that they mostly restocked with Russian paratroopers. So Kavkaz Chechen detachment is at 70% now after their rotation and restocking is filled by Russian paratroopers. So Ahmad's detachment is not even Chechen's detachment anymore. And they restocked them with somewhat elderly recruits. So there are those funny video of some guys in their 50s, a bit overweight with belly sticking out, and Kadyrov people telling them, now you go and fight. It's interesting. I think they're watching our stream. There was a news now in one of the Kremlin publics. Right now there was a news that came just minutes ago. Russia does not have issues with UAVs. Our UAVs are the best anyway. We don't need to buy them from anywhere. I guarantee you that is a reaction to our publication in Ukraine that... actually, yeah, to our stream. What do you mean? They just published that? It's almost 11 p.m. and their person is head is talking about UAVs? Yep, they just published it. So that's interesting. There's somebody actually watching our stream, I guarantee you. You don't make statements at 11 p.m. otherwise. So yeah, this is basically them trying to say, no, we have not sent them there. And now that information is public, Israel will be checking on that. Mark, all those who understand, they're in the know. They already checked. They saw the videos of that machine that we shot down. So there'll be a wider splash now. And that's a good question that Israel needs to ask back. What did Iran get in return for the UAVs? And it doesn't need to be exact nuclear material. It could have been technologies related to that, to the centrifuges. You remember Israel actually assassinated a lot of the Iranian military scientists who were trying to build their nuke. So they could have slowed the development somewhat, and here, if they sold UAVs, they definitely could have gotten something from Russia. They for sure have not given them for nothing, right? Okay, over 40 minutes live, 400,000 plus watching us, over 40,000 click the like button. We have a stream tomorrow, right? Yes, we do. Okay, so whatever we didn't touch today, let's do that tomorrow. Last question. I had some students in the chat who were so insisting on asking question why they're not let outside of Ukraine to study, especially the ones who are somewhat of a military age and the ones who are studying in foreign institutions. Is that question being discussed? It is, and I'm rather upset about them not being let go to study. We are a big 40 million people country. We cannot stop our civil lives because of what is happening on the front. So we should not be precluding our seamen, our students from going away, going out and doing their work or doing their study. That also limits an opportunity to bring more volunteers and make more connections to bring more supplies. This is also wrong in terms of younger generation, to not let them go there and study. I think it's just bureaucratic calamity that will be resolved in the nearest future. But this is discussed. Yes, it is being discussed. I heard that. It's weird. It's just some bureaucratic inertia. I think it's bureaucratic machine that is just fumbling here and there once in a while, and nobody wants us to become like Russia in any capacity. And us who are already winning on the front, this is a wrong position to be in. Me personally, Olexiy Arestovych, cannot understand the logic behind that, so I definitely support students getting an opportunity to study where they want. Okay, let's conclude on that. Subscribe to our channels, and we'll reconvene tomorrow and discuss everything we did not today. See you tomorrow. And by the way, there was no noise today.